For a seated single arm band row, you'll want to have a band secured at about chest or waist height as from a seated position. If you can do this on the floor, that's great. You can just sit down on the floor, maybe bend the knees slightly if you don't have the flexibility to just sit here, and you'll pull the band towards you. If you find that this is super uncomfortable because you can't sit in this position, or if it bothers your back, you could always just take a short bench or maybe like an aerobic step or something and sit on top of that and just do the exact same thing. It's the same exercise, it just takes the pressure off of your back. There's no need to push it being down on the floor. But a couple of inches is probably fine. You don't have to have an entire foot off the floor. When you're rowing, you're gonna have your arm out in front of you. You're trying to maintain a pretty rigid torso, and I've got my hand at about 45 degrees because whenever you pull your arm back, you want your arm to also be about 45 degrees off the body. So we're not doing like a face pull where we have the elbow flared up and away from us. And you don't necessarily have to have your arm completely tucked in. This is fine, but usually about 45 degrees is a great position for a lat engagement. So somewhere in this range here, out to about 45 degrees, okay? So when you get started, you should already have tension on the band. You don't want to be so close that the band is like flaccid, because then there's an entire part of the range where you're not actually being challenged. So when you start, the band should be tight. If it's too tight, try to get a lighter band. From here, you should also have the ability, based on the difficulty of the band, to pull your arm all the way back. So I'm actually trying to get my wrist to my side. If you can't make it back this far, you might need to use a lighter band. Or if your arm flies back, then you definitely need a heavier band. So either double up or get a harder band. Okay, so from here, just pulling back toward the side, getting a little bit of contraction here. And you could also, if you need to, maybe even feel like you're leaning slightly or dropping that shoulder down if you need it in order to feel that lat contraction. If you don't need it, then don't lean. You'll start on your weaker side, doing all of your reps, nice and controlled, and then repeat on the opposite side, on the stronger side. And on each repetition, as you move back to the starting position, don't allow the band to just jerk your arm away from you. Control the beginning of the movement, control the end of the movement.